so let me actually start at lesson 3. So if you guys want to check out lessons 1 and 2, that'd be awesome. They're definitely on that beginner lessons area. But lesson 3 is a good lesson to talk about today because it kind of covers some of the basic notes of the violin. And it's going to actually have us play Mary Had a Little Lamb. So I'm going to give you guys some technique tips and actually play through some of these today. And you guys can ask me any questions that you have. Okay, so as you can see here, number 6 is D string magic. So I'm actually going to take my pen here and circle D string magic. So as you can see, there's a letter and a number here, and then there's a musical note here. Raise your hand. I'm curious who's in this class right now. How many of you guys are pretty familiar with reading music? Okay, a couple of you are. Okay, so yeah, when people are first starting to play the violin, everybody's at a different level regarding reading music. I'm going to give you guys some basics on that regarding lesson 3. So basically, this part of reading music refers to the string that we're going to be playing on, and then the number refers to the finger that you're going to place down. So there's going to be one of 4 numbers: 0, 1, 2, or 3. Okay? If it says 0, I call that open or just no fingers down. That's going to be just no fingers being placed on the fingerboard. If it's a 1, it's going to be the index finger. I'll just put I for index. If it's 2, it's going to be the middle finger being placed down. And if it's 3, it's going to be the ring finger. Okay? So let's look back here with this notation and notice that the first 3 notes are open. So that means that they don't have any fingers down when you play those 3 notes. And you can see below where it corresponds on the musical staff. So eventually you guys are not going to need this, which is the notation, but it's kind of nice to have that to be able to teach you guys how to read music. Because for a lot of beginners, it's a little bit easier to read notation than it is actually reading musical notes. But everybody's at a different point. So hopefully you can decide and see where you're at and go from there. But for those of you guys that are pretty new to reading music, the top notation is pretty helpful because it tells you the string that you're on, D string, no fingers down. Now we're going to add in the index finger. And notice that the note is going up 1 spot on the staff. You see where it's at compared to that note? It's going up a notch, I call it. So this particular note is an E, aka D1, and that's the spot on the line which refers to playing first finger down. And then it goes from there. We go to the second fingers right here, so that's going to be your middle finger. And here are your third fingers. Just like that. So basically, this first line, D string magic, covers all of the notes on the D string: D0, D1, D2, and D3. Let's actually play through these so you guys can hear what they sound like. I'll actually play through number 6. Now D1. Now D2. Now D3. Very good. Now the way that music works, you follow what's called a key signature, and this is going to be kind of confusing to understand. So what I want you guys just to know, and trust me on, is that the second finger and the third finger are touching. Those 2 fingers, when you're playing on the D string, in this particular mode, we'll call it, your second and third fingers are touching. So what I just did there is I had a space between my second and third finger, while my first and second finger, there was a space, also known as a whole step. So this is a whole step, this is a half step. Okay? Hope that makes sense. All right, I'm going to erase all drawings here. And what I'm going to encourage you guys to do for this week is to make flashcards based on everything that we just talked about. So basically what you should do is you should have a flashcard. I'm actually just going to kind of put it to the side here. Let's call this our flashcard. What I want on the flashcard is the notation on one side as well as the letter of the note. Okay? So D0 is D, D1 is E, D2 is F, D3 is G. Just to make sure you guys get that. D, E, F, and G. Okay? So it's nice to know the letter as well as the notation, because the notation refers to what string you're on and what finger you're using, and the letter refers to just what letter that is in music, which is nice to know both. Okay, so the front of the card is going to have this, what I just wrote down. The back of the card, I suggest having the actual placement of the note, which is this. Okay, so every musical staff has 5 lines. Some of you guys might not have known that. And the key is where the dot is, because that's referring to what note we're going to be playing on the violin. So in this case, if you were to see this on the flashcard, you should be able to say that's a D0 and that's a D. It's the same thing. Okay? And then let's say you go to your next flashcard and the dot is here. You should be able to say that that's a D1, E. Okay, raise your hand if you guys follow me so far. Okay, and then the next one would be D2, F. Okay, and the last one will be D3, G. And sorry, I'm trying to write on my laptop pad here, so my penmanship's not very good here. But there's basically 4 different notes that we're trying to master here: D, E, F, and G. And if you're able to know, based on where they're at on the lines, what note it is, that's going to be a step in the direction of being able to read music. Because let's say we don't have any notation. I'm actually going to go ahead and erase all this. Let's say we don't have any of this. This is not the case anymore, which will happen later in this book. Actually, no, I think I do have notation throughout the book. But later in other books and in just reading music in general, you're not going to see that notation. You have to know what to do when you see that and when you see that. So in this case, I know that this is going to be a no fingers down. This is going to be second fingers down, and it's an F, right? This is a D. This is an E, right? I know what to do here. I know how to put first finger down. I know how to put second finger down, and so on. Okay? So that's a huge part as a beginner, understanding notation, how to read music, because ultimately that's your key to knowing what to play and what fingers to put down. All right, well, let's play through, let's say number 7, which is going to have those same notes just in different combinations. And if you see here, this is what we refer to as a rest, or I put it as an R in notation. That basically just means that you don't do anything for a beat or the same amount of time as you play a quarter note. So you'll kind of see as I play through number 7 how that rest should be not played, basically. Okay, what I suggest you guys to do is use the whole bow, try to keep your bow straight, and try to go about the same speed as I'm going. It's really important not to go too fast because that's going to build bad habits. So try to get all the way to the end of the bow with each stroke. All right, let's try number 7. Ready, go. Rest. rest. Rest, rest, rest. And to be able to get that smooth sound that we're trying to have you guys do, it's all about the bow hand. So I really suggest that you guys watch some of my bow hand videos in the beginner lessons area, because it's all about not grabbing the bow too tight, using the index finger, and just not having too much force up against the bow. That causes sounds more like this. That, where we don't want that. We want more, which is a lot has to do with how you're applying pressure and not grabbing too tight. All right, so that's number 7. Why don't we go on to number 8 and play that at the same speed and see if you guys can go through that one with me. Ready, number 8, go. Great. And I want to make sure that you guys are bending your wrist as you're playing the violin. If you're going back and forth and your right wrist is pretty much in the same position as you're going down and up, that means that you're using too much shoulder to apply the bow stroke. So as you're going down towards the end of the bow, your wrist is just really natural, but as it comes up, that's when you really have to bend it. So you're basically going from the wrist being very natural to really being bent like a claw. And there's a lot of videos that I have in the beginner lessons area regarding wrist. Just kind of look up that keyword. As you're coming up bow, you want to make sure that you're bending the wrist and not using the arm. This is an example of me using too much arm. So I'm still getting that kind of unclean sound, but if I use my wrist, a lot better. All right, so let's go on to the last song here. I'll give you guys your last assignment of the week, which is Mary Had a Little Lamb. How many of you guys have heard of Mary Had a Little Lamb? I hope everybody. All right. Great. Oh, Lisa actually had a really great question. Lisa asked, is the second finger on the D string, is that an F sharp? And Lisa, you're absolutely correct. So people that have more of a music background, maybe they've played piano or they have some sort of knowledge of music, they understand that what we're doing right now is actually playing an F sharp and not just an F. Now, the reason why I didn't bring that up is because that can be confusing to the people that have not had experience reading music. That's a little bit like, what? Why isn't it just an F? Basically, the way that music works is that this particular key, which is playing F sharp and C sharp, just sound good. It's a common key that's easy to play. It has a really nice arrangement of your fingers, not too hard, not too easy. It's just perfect. So, but technically, anytime that you're playing second finger on the D string, it's an F sharp. Don't let that confuse you if you're new to music. Just know that it is F sharp, not F natural. But you know, you can, for your own sake, just say F for now. But technically, it is F sharp. That's a great question. All right, so let me erase this and kind of talk about Mary Had a Little Lamb a little bit. Great question, guys. I'm glad you guys are asking questions here in the webinar class. Okay, so Mary Had a Little Lamb has some other arrangement of notes, and is a song that you definitely know, so you know what it's supposed to sound like. The key is going to be using a lot of bow to get a good sound, having good fundamentals. And my suggestion would be to not do it with the bow maybe the first time. My suggestion would be to do what's called plucking or pizzicato. Basically what that is, and that's, by the way, that's lesson 1 of my Violin Tutor Pro lessons. So if you go to lessons, beginner lessons, lesson 1, is actually teaching you guys exactly what pizzicato or plucking looks like. And it's a kind of a fancy word for basically just not using your bow. So instead of bowing and placing fingers down, which can be a lot to do at the same time as a beginner, it's basically just using your finger to pluck or to pitch the note. So I'm actually just going to do it once so you guys can hear what it sounds like. And then you guys can go through that beginner lesson 1 just to kind of get an idea exactly what it looks like, and it's a great visual lesson for this. But basically, this is what is a good way to start Mary Had a Little Lamb without using the bow. Rest, rest, rest. Great. Now, as you guys are doing this lesson, this is where you can be focusing on left-hand fundamentals. What I mean by that is basically focusing in on what your left hand is doing. So a couple of things that could easily go wrong with your left hand is that as you're placing notes, you're reaching too much with your hand to find the note. Basically, when you play the violin, you only want to be moving your fingers to find notes, not your hand and fingers. The reason for that is that as we get more complicated with different songs, if you're using a lot of muscles like your hand and just making it more than what it is to find the note, you're not going to be able to play fast and efficient. So it's really important as you're playing the violin to focus on your left hand, to just place your finger down and not be reaching for the note. I have a lot of lessons on the website that go over this. If you just go through the beginner lessons 1 through 10, it definitely covers left hand angles and how high to have the hand. But those are 2 things that are key to be able to just find the note with your finger and not your hand and the finger. Raise your hand if that makes sense, guys. Cool. Okay, so basically what you guys could do this week is focus in on left-hand fundamentals before even trying Mary Had a Little Lamb with the bow. And that could even be with the previous songs that we've already done. If you're really new to the violin, it's really overwhelming to do both the bow and the fingers down at the same time. So it's good to separate and focus on one or the other, and then eventually put them together when you feel like you're up to it, like you feel more confident in doing both. So yeah, let's say that we've worked on the left hand fundamentals, and now we're going to put it together with the bow. We still want to keep the same things going as far as using the whole bow, bending the wrist, all those good things. Let's try it together. Ready, go. All right, just like that. So if you're feeling like that is a good level for you, then that's what I suggest you guys practice this week. Would love your feedback regarding what your thoughts are on this setup as far as kind of going through a lesson and a song. If you guys want to email me at michael@superiorviolins.com. I'd love your feedback. And then I'll continue doing this format or maybe tweaking some things. But yeah, if you guys are also feeling like this is a little bit too easy, I do hold a 3 to 12 month experience class. It's actually about to start here soon, and that's at 8:30 Eastern Time every Monday night. So in that class, we're going to be covering a little bit more advanced stuff, probably going actually into book 2 of Violin Tutor Pro. So as you can see, that's a little bit more complex than book 1. So yeah, I encourage you guys that are here, that are up to the challenge, or maybe you're watching right now on audio and you want to get involved in the webinars. I highly encourage you guys to sign up for these classes right on the website. It's really easy to do. you just go right to violintutorpro.com. You click on, or you actually can even hover over webinars, then see schedule and enroll. And then you guys can enroll in any class that I have going on. So actually later in this month I'm teaching In Dreams from the Lord of the Rings. So you guys can sign up for that. This is the class that we're doing right now, just starting violin class at 8 o'clock. And we're about to start 3 to 12 months. So you just click on that link and then you can sign up for this class and you'll get a notification a day and 1 hour before the class starts. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the class, and let me know if you have any questions. I would love for you guys to post in the forums any questions you have throughout the week. I'm in there quite a bit trying to answer questions, and just encourage you guys to stick with playing and, you know, never give up, because, you know, the first 5 weeks of learning is the hardest, but once you get through those first 5 weeks, you're going to feel a lot more confident and be able to pick it up and do a lot more things with it. But utilize all the lessons I have on the site. Ask me questions. There's nothing that I haven't been asked before. And my goal is to help you guys through these times and hopefully encourage you guys to continue to learn and achieve your dreams. Thanks so much for watching.